Welcome to UO, Upwards Orbit, a beacon of progress in the year 2055, a city where technology and innovation have created a perfect life above the clouds. Meet George, seen here in his brand new flying Elon X03. Jane, the perfect housewife in her state-of-the-art kitchen, a classy grounded staple of the UO. Judy, per usual, gazing into her tetrascope as she has been having troubling visions lately. Elroy, boy genius, working on a new J5 prototype for the science fair. Astro, the lovable, rambunctious family dog in his own little bubble, and of course Rosie, the highly advanced robot housekeeper with a New York accent for some reason.
They were the 13th family to join the UO after the fallout of 2036. Each plays their part in this harmonious world of tomorrow, perhaps a very important part.
But as bright as this city shines, its light casts deep shadows. Below the clouds lies another world, a place of struggle and survival. Here we meet Grabman, a man forged by hardship and resilience. He rips out the throats of those who speak against the resistance, driving an old weathered Tesla through the grim streets. He navigates a world choked by smog and ruled by control. At a checkpoint, he presents his past and presses on, his determination unshaken. Beyond the gate lies the sprawling undercity, a stark reminder of those left behind, far from the perfection of UO. In the shadowed depths of the undercity, a different kind of plan was forming. Grabman, hardened by years of struggle, stood at the center of the room, his voice steady and determined as he outlined the next move of the resistance. The target was the Vitalis Nexus, a towering structure piercing the clouds above. Its sleek, chrome facade concealed the lifeblood of UO: food, medicine, and supplies hoarded for the privileged few. If the Nexus fell, it would rain salvation on the undercity, feeding the starving and healing the sick. In the corner of the dimly lit room stood a figure of quiet strength and unwavering resolve. Clara, her poised, statuesque presence and composed demeanor reflected a unique blend of elegance and resilience. Clara, the mother of their young son, held fast to one promise, a vow to marry Grabman after the war, when the towers had fallen and freedom was within their grasp. Yet, as she watched him command the room with conviction, a shadow of worry crossed her face. She knew the cost of rebellion all too well, and understood how fragile hope could be. The room fell silent as Grabman's plan took root. The dim neon light flickered above them, casting fractured shadows over faces marked by exhaustion and resolve. Below the clouds, survival was its own battlefield, but love and the promise of a better tomorrow were what kept them fighting. Below the clouds, survival is a daily battle, marked by sacrifice, resilience, and the faint hope for a better tomorrow. But high above, in the shimmering world of UO, life continues untouched by the struggles below. Above the clouds, life unfolds in perfect harmony. Children laugh as their toys hover and spin, neighbors stroll on glowing paths, and order reigns beneath the watchful eyes of progress. Yet, in this gilded world of ease and elegance, every smile is seen, every step observed. A paradise shaped by control. Back at the Aeron household, Rosie hard at work. The soft hum of automation stirred George from his sleep. The golden glow of the room brightened just enough to pull him into the day. Blinking at the holographic clock suspended above his bedside, he muttered, "I need to get to the office."
R039 gets him up and ready to go in a flash. He zooms to his commuter transport vehicle and heads out to the city to find out what has his boss, Mr. Elon Axis, so worked up about this time.
The city opened before him, a perfect symphony of chrome, pastels, and progress. Flying vehicles glided in perfect harmony, and conveyor belt sidewalks carried pedestrians effortlessly through their routines. George's gaze stayed ahead, his mind already in the office, as the commuter joined the flow of morning traffic above the clouds.
The elevator hummed softly as it climbed, but George's thoughts were louder. Elon Axis wasn't just a boss. He was the most powerful man in UO, a man who could crush reputations and careers with a single word. And today, that word might just be his own name. As the elevator slowed to a halt, George adjusted his tie, a reflex as much as a stalling tactic. The doors slid open, and there it was, Elon's domain. The office was as commanding as its occupant. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed in pastel light, chrome accents gleaming like armor, and at the center of it all, Elon Axis. His bald head caught the golden glow as his eyes met George's. There was no mistaking it. This wasn't going to be a friendly chat.
The light in Elon Axis's office dimmed slightly, casting deep shadows across the chrome surfaces as the towering figure of UO's most powerful man leaned forward in his chair. His voice was calm, but the menace was unmistakable. "There's a threat in our community," Elon began, his piercing gaze fixed on George Aeron. "The undercity scum are planning something, and worse, they have spies among us here in UO." His tone dropped colder now. "We need to sniff them out." He paused, a sinister smirk curling on his lips. "Have a chat with them." George swallowed hard, the weight of the moment settling heavily on his shoulders. "I'll do my best, Mr. Axis," he said, his voice steady, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. "Good," Elon replied, leaning back slightly, but his gaze never wavered. "Get with the Vanguard command and make it happen." As George turned to leave, his steps deliberate but strained, Elon's voice rang out again, slicing through the air like a blade. "You wouldn't want to let me down, George." George froze for a moment, his face a mixture of worry and determination. He nodded to himself as if to summon courage, then stepped into the glowing elevator tube, leaving the ominous office behind. As George exited the room, the air grew colder. Professor Solaris entered, his presence commanding and unwavering. "Professor Solaris, sir, we've successfully extracted the information from the rebel." Elon leaned forward, a sinister glint in his eye.
Solaris says, "Should we release him?"
After a calculated pause, Elon smirked. "Let's send them a message." Professor Solaris nodded sharply. "Yes, sir." He turned and exited, the weight of their decision hanging heavily in the room. The door slid shut behind Professor Solaris as he stepped out, his movements precise and unhurried. He adjusted his glasses and activated his neural command link, issuing the order with cold efficiency. "Release him. Let's send a message." The rebel stood trembling on the platform, his eyes darting between the towering UO security bots looming over him. Their sleek, metallic forms reflected the golden glow of the clouds, but to him they were symbols of terror.
"I told you what you wanted. I gave you everything. Let me go," he shouted, his voice cracking with desperation.
The bots remained still, their glowing red visors unblinking. He took a step back, the edge of the platform creeping closer. His mind raced, replaying the horrors of the interrogation. He knew what the UO was capable of. There would be no mercy. "You don't have to do this," he pleaded, his voice barely a whisper now. One bot took a deliberate step forward, and the rebel panicked. He stumbled, his footing lost, and with a gasp, he plummeted into the golden abyss below. Through the toxic haze of the undercity, the figure of the rebel pierced the dense air, his descent eerily silent, except for the faint beep of the Ares-class detonator strapped to him. On the crumbling streets below, the people, masked workers, sickly mutants, humanoid robots, and weary mothers, looked up, their faces etched with unease. The rebel's body grew larger in their vision, falling faster and faster. Meanwhile, inside a dimly lit shop, a man sat slumped in a creaky chair, enjoying his old-school cartoons on the flickering screen. "I need to get me one of those, shoot," he says. The man chuckled softly, his weathered face briefly lighting up with a rare smile. Just as the cartoon's main character began another slapstick chase, a deafening crash shattered the moment.
"It's the UO," one man says.
When he struck the ground, a sharp silence followed. The beeping reached its climax. Then the Ares-class detonator erupted. The explosion rippled through the block, collapsing buildings and sending debris scattering like ash. The undercity froze in shock as smoke and dust swallowed the streets. A low wail broke the silence, a sound of collective grief and fear. The message was clear. Defiance would not be tolerated. Above, the pristine towers of UO gleamed untouched, a chilling reminder of the divide between the worlds, a divide that grew wider with every act of brutality. After the explosion, Judy's dreams intensified. Each vision was more vivid, more haunting. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were more than dreams. She needed to uncover the truth, to find out what these visions meant before it was too late.